Oh, now it's picking up.
Can you hear
I
us
can
now?
hear you now. Yeah.
All right. Wow. Thank you, James. All right. So, Jo Marie, can you state your name and the remote location from which you are participating?
Yes, my name is Joel Marie Garcia, and I'm at 411 Austin Ave in Stanton at my home office.
Great, thank you. Can everyone on the commission and in the audience hear? Okay, you're in. Awesome. Okay.
Yay!
Part one done. Great. The next item on the agenda is the nomination and election of your chair and vice chair. And I know you all don't know each other very well yet, and you're going to get to know each other. And so I don't know. I think a couple of you have an idea if you'd like to nominate. So I'm just going to open the floor for discussion and nominations, and we'll start with the chair, and then we'll go from there. So does anybody have a nomination for the chair?
I would nominate Sabrina Burris, Chair of the Equity and Diversity Commission. Sabrina Burris is a lifelong Scranton native. She is also a mental health practitioner in this area for a very important nonprofit and very good work. I think that work, as she's a professional, is very pertinent to what we're doing here. I think she'd be an excellent chair for this commission.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sabrina, are you willing to be chair?
I want to like not cry, so yeah.
Oh. Well, I have to ask, are there any other nominations while we're taking nominations? We have one, Sabrina Burris. Okay, any other discussion? Is there a motion to approve Sabrina Burris as chair of the Equity Diversity Commission?
I so moved.
Second.
All right, all approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We forget about you over there. Excellent. Congratulations, Sabrina. Yay. Now I'll be looking for nominations for vice chair. Any nominations?
You can return the.
I would like to.
I
was like, wait, I can't do it. I would like to nominate Ms.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
So it sounds like there is a motion for a retreat, followed by bi-weekly. Yes. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Poor Joel.
I know, I feel that Natalie's trying. I can hear it outside. I think it's, yeah.
Every time you say storm, I'm like,
Your first motion as chair
hear
is
you.
excellent.
Thank you. So I do have one question. What date do we need to decide on dates now? Yeah, why don't we, so now we have the Saturday retreat date and then the every other Wednesday, I guess, or twice a month Wednesday. And good news, Wednesdays are totally free. I mean, I was looking at the calendar and there's usually nothing scheduled, no public meetings that night. So it's completely clear. So it could be any Wednesday of the month.
Will it always be here?
I don't know with this, if it's all, well, I mean, we like this room because it's kind of a room where you all can have discussion and it's a little more intimate than like chambers. But in the caucus room is way too small. We would not be comfortable in there. I think right now this is the room. We are getting a piece of equipment that will let us live stream from anywhere. And it's called an owl.
I was like, is it the owl?
Yeah, it's the owl. So we're gonna get that. So then that will free you all up to meet in different places. And it doesn't have to be here in City Hall. And then we could still live stream from someplace else. So
Joel.
she's on the little one. Oh, is she on? You back, Jo Marie?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you guys.
Sorry, we think it was the storm that kicked it must be storming outside.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I could, as soon as it started storming up, when I kind of lost your video. So I figured that's what it was.
I don't know if you heard, you got chosen chair and vice chair.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Sabrina and Lindsay.
Yes, I heard that part, and that's about where I lost it.
Okay, and they just finished a discussion about meetings, and we're looking at a Saturday retreat and then a bi-monthly on Wednesdays around, well, they're about to talk about dates and times. So that's all you've missed so far.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so glad to have you back. All right.
I will just say I'm flexible. The only Saturday I'm not available is the 9th, July 9th. Other than that, I'm available.
I'm not available on the 23rd.
I am not available on any of the second Saturdays because of my work schedule.
About the 16th.
The 6th, yeah, the 16th. Can everybody do the 16th? July.
Yeah.
Well, that fire alarm, I know it's gonna be a long session, so probably not that soon, but is that could be an option?
Yes, to have a meeting, we would need a quorum. Yes. So at least 8 of you would need to show up. Yeah.
For the Zoom policy.
Yeah, so as long as 8 of you are here, if you want, so as long as I have commitment from 8 of you to be here physically in person, then 7 of you could be on Zoom, and that's totally fine.
And we're just talking about one Saturday, right?
For now, you're just talking about one Saturday, I think, yeah. But then if you all want to schedule future Saturdays.
Make it early. So it's
9 to
9 to 2.
9 to 2.
We won't do it. on
9:32 on the fire alarm.
We won't do it there right now.
Got to 1:55.
Yeah. We have to have a fire alarm. I swear if it happens here, I'm gonna freak out, so.
We can bring in a recording for us.
That's the notice, that's the bell to leave, so.
Do we think that time would be long enough?
Yeah.
I think it works.
I think we.
I don't think, I was thinking 8 to 12 would be.
Knock it out.
8 to 12 is 4 hours.
No.
What time do you guys wake up?
8 to
On Saturday?
On Saturday.
Oh,
wow.
We
got
got
nine to
9
9 to 1 is great. Yeah. Okay.
No, what, I'm sorry, what was the fun?
9 to 1 on the 16th.
9 to 1 on the 16th.
8 a.m. is way too early.
Yes.
That's
when I usually go to
bed. I don't sleep, yeah, I don't sleep at night.
Okay. So July 16th from 9 to 1. Joe Marie, does that sound, speak up if you have any comments or anything. You good?
What is the date? Is that we're
July-
talking about July 16th?
Yep, that's right, from 9 to 1.
That's perfect.
Great. We will, yeah, so we'll figure out the location. And then Sabrina and Lindsay, we'll work with you all to figure out if you want to get a facilitator or what's on the agenda, and we'll get all that worked out. Yeah.
So then do we want to meet on the 6th and the 20th of July? Or do we want to start bi-weekly after? the retreat?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the holiday week's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna be here.
20th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
So then, yeah,
And same time, 7 or earlier work for folks or? No, 6, 7.
6 would work.
Or 6:30. I think for some people, 7's the earliest this could happen. I see a lot of issues. Okay.
Do we want to go to the 20th or the 27th? I know we were talking about, that's 4 days later as opposed to.
If we hit the 20th, the next step that would do another night on the 3rd, and then we can maybe go to the once a month model. Yeah. Because that should get us on track for the 31st of August.
To keep the 20th and then do the 3rd. Okay.
yeah, so then we have like that, like, what Lou and Jennifer were talking about, that's sort of like more compacted time. And then we can decide like going into August, do we still need to meet bi-monthly
I
or?
just wondered with the long work session on the 16th, what comes out of that? Will we have enough time to turn everything around to be ready for the 25th? What would be the productivity of the 20th if we're just coming out of, well, exhausted, we have a lot of work in front of us, and 20th, I got to none of it.
That's
This is just
a good
one
point,
word.
yeah.
So start
Yeah.
27,
27.
Okay.
just starting by 7 to 8, you said.
Yes.
And then meet again on the third.
Well, no, it wouldn't be the third.
Would it rotate then every other week
The
at that
10th.
point?
It would be the
Yeah.
10th.
So do you just want to schedule those 3 meetings for now, and then on the 10th decide how to move forward? Okay. So we can go ahead and do that. And I think we'll go ahead and just keep meeting in here for the 27th and the 10th, but we'll find a location for the retreat.
So 20th is not gonna happen.
I think they're saying the
Right.
20th is not gonna happen, because we'll need time to digest the retreat material, get that back out to you guys.
That's fine.
3 days just won't be enough time to do that, or 2 days.
So the 27th and
The 10th of August,
what was the time frame? 7.
7th this time.
I have a question. Well, all of our paperwork, it says Equity and Diversity Commission, but I've seen it in other places where it says Equity, Diversity, and Inclusive, I mean, inclusion.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute,
Okay.
the name. Because we're gonna have a motion, somebody's gonna have a motion to address that, yes, ma'am. Any other, is that, I think that's good. So we're on to other business, and I received an email about a proposed name change to the commission. I'll just say council will need to approve that, and that's not a problem. The earliest we could take that though is July 28th. Because that's their next meeting after tomorrow, because we don't have their first meeting in July. Beth, do you want to go ahead and
Yeah,
address
so
that?
when I first heard about the Equity and Diversity Commission, the first thing that struck me was the word inclusion was excluded, not included. I feel like that's such a key piece of what the commission's research and the report will be the foundation for building a more inclusive staff. I did a little bit of research and on the Stanton plan for 2021, it has a category, one of the values is listed as inclusion and equity. And I also feel that the phrase diversity, equity, inclusion, the phrase has gained a lot of traction and people relate to that and know what the meaning is around that. It's the key phrase for this type of work. And also on our website, even though it says Equity and Diversity Commission, the very first blog is about what is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it kind of reinforces that inclusion is missing. And I know that this is just a starting point for inclusive STEM, but I think it's important for it to be part of the name. So therefore, I would like to make a motion to change the name from the Equity and Diversity Commission to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission.
Second that. Thank you.
I'd also just like to add, I think that's a great point, but there's also movements to add justice or accessibility to that. So for example, my organization, we have an IDEA committee, which is the inclusive diversity, equity, and accessibility. So I would support that completely, including inclusion, but do we want to consider maybe including accessibility? I know we talked about the walkability of the city in our orientation. Do we want to discuss justice? So I would just comment that. Is there any idea of adding that as well?
In the little microscopic responses that were looked up, that was a frequent theme was justice, and I think that's a good point. And that covers a lot of accessibilities for justice.
So are we going for accessibility or justice? Sorry,
I think justice would be the biggest thing. I would encourage more than accessibility. I'm not saying it takes a backseat. I think they're both equally important, but
I think it's a part of
I
it.
think it's a part of that.
I think from a standpoint, city commission names, we see justice, and I agree with you that it needs to be part of that, clinical justice. So it might get confused by some members of the public as being part of that apparatus.
Policing type thing.
Yeah, so that's not to me, that's not trying to be said, just saying something we should consider as a city. Just in case people get confused.
I think the inclusivity covers a lot, a huge area, to make everyone feel inclusive.
I agree with that because I think accessibility, if you're inclusive, you're including
Everyone.
yeah.
And that was a good point because you said this is well, I do, is a non-political commission. So you start picking here, you're gonna leave someone out. And you're gonna have a problem, but if you just keep it very clean, don't blur lines. You have equity, you have diversity, you have inclusion. So, I mean, I think that covered one. I don't feel left out.
That's not to
So-
say we should.
So could the person who brought it up make a motion, please?
I think you're already-
Yeah, there's already a motion.
Yeah, no, this is
She's already
a-
said
We do have a motion,
Yeah,
a second
we
on the
were
table.
we were in discussion.
Don't blame me.
I would like to just add one last comment. It's not really as important, but if we make the title too long, it's just a
Right.
mouthful.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And the original, I mean, the reason why this commission was established, because so many people have been excluded from this process for so long. Like, with this paper right here, we're talking about urban renewal, project R4, that was institutionalized exclusion. Adding inclusion there, institutionalized inclusion is something that needs to.
I second the motion.
We have a couple seconds.
I was thinking Lou was going, but I'll second.
Do you
So
all-
all in favor?
Aye.
So then we will
We
submit
will
that
submit that to
to
city
city
council.
council.
Yes, ma'am. The last item on my agenda, this is open-ended, is other business by commission members, and then I do have one more thing after you all finish with any other business, and then we can adjourn. So just open the floor.
I seem to have a big mouth tonight. I apologize. When I was thinking about us working together and working in the community, are you all familiar, probably are, with nonviolent communication? Marshall Rosenberg, spearheaded that. And I think that would be maybe something we could review at our retreat. I think it would be a really important part in how we communicate with the community and with each other.
Can you elaborate more on that? Just what it is?
It's, I think he terms it as compassionate communication, and where you're really revealing what, if you're asking a question, you are upfront about it. It's not hidden, like you don't say, don't do that. Well, that's not helpful. Why do you have an issue with this? It's a way of being more open. It's using your feelings as part of it, and I think it's a real helpful form.
So Zavia, it is like it is a type of communication that is typically used or at least taught in social justice work. So it's the which you may have heard like calling in versus calling out. So I'm going to call you into this conversation versus calling you out. It is leading with your emotions and empathy versus leading with your perceptions and judgment, and like all of those sort of pieces of like what makes it easier to have somebody sit on the other side of you and want to have a conversation with you. Okay, that's what it's about.
Thank you.
Is there a concise source for this, like your page, something that we can all review?
Maybe not concise. There's certainly a book that I think we
Oh,
can probably
okay.
share, but like I also like as a mental health professional, I've done that training, so we could probably like consolidate it into something that feels more manageable.
And there are YouTube videos
Yeah.
with Marshall Rosenberg that would give you an introduction.
That'd be,
Well, if somebody would like to send that out, you all have the whole group emails, so feel free to send things out. It doesn't always have to come from me. I'm sure you're tired of seeing emails from me. So it'd be great to have you all send things out to read. And we do have a budget, so if you want me to purchase books or materials, I can do that. You just have to tell me what you'd like to read. Or if we think through the retreat, you know, if there's something you'd like to see in advance that we can purchase for you all, then, you know, we can do that. So we have means and resources, so. But thank you, Jennifer. That'd be really interesting. I had not heard that before.
Side question. Can we go ahead and ask for a budget for snacks?
We can get you snacks. You don't have to ask for snacks.
Okay.
We'll bring snacks. Right, that Kylie, have you all met Kylie, by the way? I apologize. This is Kylie Kessaker. He's council's clerk of council, but he's helping me tonight. And I know last time it was Morgan, but she was sick today. And it could be a different person. It won't always be Kylie, unless he really loves doing this with me. So, but there'll always be somebody here with me to help take notes, to get the room ready and do the Zoom and everything. So, but this is Kylie, so, but we'll make sure, yeah, we'll have snacks and water. And I thought of that actually as we were starting. So we'll make sure we take care of that.
One thing that I'm concerned about and is FOIA. I know we've talked about that we can't meet more than 2 people and discuss business. But it can be, at least to my mind, it can be a pretty complicated thing. Like, for instance, when the press is involved and would contact any one of us and want to know something. And just to the extent that we can get as many issues as possible in front of us and actually think about it beforehand, I think it'd be really good.
Okay.
Because that can result in some bad press.
Sure. I mean, another thing you might want to consider now that you have your chair and vice chair is saying that they speak to the media. You could say on behalf of the commission, our chair and vice chair speak for the commission. And, you know, that could be another route to take this as well. Yeah, we'll work really hard at getting those issues out in front of you all in advance. And so, yes, sir.
Which brings up the issue of bylaws, and I assume that probably.
Well, and I thought about that. Are you all interested in bylaws? I thought about that, and then I thought, well, maybe we don't need bylaws. We have the resolution. But if you all want bylaws, we have examples of bylaws that we can certainly put in front of you all for next time, if you'd like that. Okay, that's not a problem. Yep. I have, in fact, I have the ones from the city of Roanoke that has a similar commission to this.
Yeah, those were in our binder.
They were in your binder, right?
I have them here.
So we can certainly add that to your agenda for your, even for the retreat. We could just do it at the retreat if you'd like, spend a few minutes on that.
I would just add a note about the media inquiries. I think to the greatest extent possible to loop in the commission if possible, so we have a unified message. Of course,
Yeah.
I think Sabrina and Lindsay would be our points of contact, our liaisons, but I think the message needs to be something that we're all believing in. That way we're making sure there's no bias or individualism represented in the media. That would just be my only request.
Any other business from any commission members?
My one thing, I know we're having public hearings in the future. On our website, is there a way to add, or is there something that I'm missing, a place for public comment? They want to provide feedback to the commission at any time that we could have available.
Would you like that?
I would.
Yeah.
And if that can be
We
pushed
can
out
do
as
that.
well.
That's not, that's
If that can be
easy.
pushed out via the city's social media or so forth. I think that'd be beneficial.
What, so is it just a question, or did you have feedback for the commission? DEI commission eventually put your comments here,
I think a
or
general feedback.
just a
I
feedback?
mean, we
form?
might get, it might create a lot of work on your guys, and so apologize if you get a lot of off the wall stuff, but those can be spam sometimes unintentionally, but I think something that just allows the city to be heard, we want to hear them, and this allows them if they can't come here in the evening.
Is there an interest in that?
And my
Jen?
only concern is that if it's only on the website, some people just don't understand that it's there. And I think we intentional about reaching out into the community so that they know that we are there for them and that they have a voice. And I don't have an answer for how we would do that, but I think it's really important.
I think that's where our listening sessions come in. We go to the communities, they come to us, but I think this is also just another way to increase accessibility for those that maybe can't come in person, or they won't reach.
First step.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a generic email box?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
for the commission?
Sure.
That's good.
Oh, did we create one already? I'm not sure. I thought that maybe we did. Maybe I dreamt that, but yes, I think we may have talked about it. So many things I just dream about that don't happen. Sure, we can do that.
Any communications that we do that we're looking for feedback, just provide that email address.
Just like city council has one too, because, yeah. Do you, now, is that something you would all want to receive the email on, or how, or it's just, so we can figure that out, but if you're just looking for a standard email that then gets pushed out to you all, but you don't want to immediately receive those. I'm not sure there's a way to do that, actually.
It would be nice to sort of include it in the materials for each month.
Okay, got it. Okay, we can create that though. That's not.
But just going with what you should respond
Yes.
to those emails, right?
I'm sorry.
Just to make sure we don't respond to those emails.
I think I guess we'll just get it at staff level and then we'll push it out to you all. And yes, somebody will make sure we have a couple people monitoring it in case anybody's out. So
Yeah.
we'd have Morgan do it. I could do it. Yeah. So,
And then if we're reviewing them, like in our meetings, if there is something that like, necessitates a response, then we can talk about like.
that's a good
you could
idea.
do an automatic reply
Sure.
and then we would review it. and sort of-
Yeah.
Yeah, just a simple, thank you for your.
Yeah.
Thanks for your comments to the commission.
It'll be reviewed, we'll follow up.
Okay.
I'm kind of, I'm on the fence with that because I'm not I'm a very optimistic person, but I am also a realistic person. They may not always be, I said, fluffy. Okay. So I just personally think that we should not respond to them. And I think that when we have our meeting, that we should delegate that response to the vice or the chair or the vice chair. Because if we start all responding to these emails, that could cause a lot of confusion and misrepresentation of this commission. And then it starts snowballing, and once it's gone, it's out. I just think, that's just my 2 cents, but with the climate, unfortunately, we have to be very cautious.
Until we all have our feet firmly on the ground,
That's-
nobody should be speaking in public
No,
except the chair and the vice
Exactly.
chair,
no one.
whether it's in print or verbal.
Right.
Because that's how you get into trouble.
Exactly.
And that's how reporters have fun.
Yep.
Like speaking to several members of the same. So I just don't do that.
Well, I think we can look at like, because I hear you, Susan, for sure. I think even if it's not like a thank you for your very rude thing you said. But if it's something that just says like, all comments received here are forwarded to, like something that just says like immediately when that person sends an email, there's something that goes back. It's not necessarily like we will answer your question or we appreciate your comment or whatever, but just something that says like, we hear you, we see you.
Exactly. I
we'll
believe in
review
that.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't want all of us
Yeah.
chiming in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, like a-
Yeah.
just like an
Emails.
automatic
Right.
response.
But say, yes, we hear you, of course, that's one to make sure people are heard and included.
So we interrupt, but I just want to point out, the press this meeting is open to the press. And any other members of the public.
Right.
Any other business?
Do we want to go back? I know that we have a work session. But do we want to go back to the more social aspect of that? That's going to be tagged onto the end of the work session or for the next Wednesday meeting? Or how do we want to handle that? That might be a nice ending then too.
You have an idea?
Oh, no.
Well, so I would suggest if we're gonna meet for that long, like, do like just having it be a part of the work that we do together. I mean, I imagine that we could probably fill that time with lots of things that need to be done, but we also can fill that time with simple things like icebreakers and like,
Yeah.
you know, like having lunch together and, you know, what like that. So I would suggest like having that social component be a part of that longer day that we're spending together.
I would suggest that if we do lunch, that it's not scattered tables like we had
Yeah.
at Stewart at the last meeting place. Not that it's the meeting place's own ability to just like bring it all in, but the next time we actually do, that we are able to actually just gather.
Just a point of hope for me. Some of you speak loudly and clearly. Here, 90% of you. Some of you have very gentle voices. And I would request that you speak up because I may not be the only one who doesn't pick up everything you're saying.
Oh, I'm very deaf this year, so don't even try.
I have a volume cranked on my hearing aids, and there are a few people who I still have trouble hearing. So please speak up. This is a larger group thing.
Speaking of hearing, an issue that's in the community that I've heard is that we have no ASL interpreter for our meetings. And I think that's really valid. I mean, we have DSDD here. This is our community, and we don't give them that opportunity to hear and respond. And I think that's something that we need to really be cognizant of.
Is there, does the city have access to someone who could do that?
I know someone.
Do you? Okay. And just so you know, on YouTube, if somebody is on Zoom, there is the closed captioning. So that is happening now. But if somebody is requesting, has a request, we can identify somebody to come and be at the meeting.
If we have visitors.
Yes,
come here,
of course, yeah.
For them to feel like they're a part of it, we want to be inclusive. I think it's crucial for all public.
And I think that is, so part of that would be when we post our meetings and just saying like, if there are accessibility needs, right, that need to be met. For example, like if we need a Spanish interpreter, or we need an ASL interpreter, we would want to know that before they arrive versus like having that, those people be just present for every meeting.
And that's quite expensive to
Right.
spend. So yes, we typically do that. We'll put a statement on the meetings
Right.
asking people to notify so-and-so if they require an accommodation. And so we can easily do that. But we can certainly add that to your agendas and to the meeting materials. So.
On the city website, someone actually asked me today where they can find the information of where the meetings are, and on the city website, it tells you when, but not where. So is there a particular way that we can include when or where we're having those meetings as well? Because I'm not sure how much, or rather, I'm not sure where they would have been able to find it if I didn't already know.
If you have to put it on the agenda.
So we
Yeah, I
tried,
clicked on it, it
so
still didn't
we
say
can
where.
try to, oh, it didn't.
No, it did not. It just says what time and what day.
Yeah, we can look at that. We tried to put it in a couple of different places. We had it on the calendar, we had it on your website, and we had it under boards and commissions, but we can be more explicit with that information and just kind of put that up front. I think, I'm not sure we can do that in all areas, because some of the websites are fixed language, and so we can't manipulate it. But your website, we can definitely manipulate however we want to. And I think the calendar, was it on the calendar, the location?
Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
the body of the.
Okay.
Clicked on it.
So, we'll make sure that that's more clear next time. And so we try to put it in as many places as we could. If you're a little bit redundant.
Yeah, the link I was at was,
Which one was it?
it was when you go to I want to ... You go under, you click on council meetings, and then you go to the Equity Commission agenda, and then it was like at the very bottom, these a little graph that had 2 rows on it, and it just said They just gave you the information like the paperwork that we have here and just the time frame.
Okay, we'll look at that for next time.
Sure. Jennifer, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No need to apologize.
One of, disability is a major concern for me, and it is for a lot of people in the community. And when it is incumbent upon the disabled to have to request, instead of already having things in place, it's like the curb cut effect. You know, when they put that in, all of a sudden, everybody was using it, it benefited everybody. If instead of having to make these requests, we have this as a standard practice, that you can be sure that we will have an ASL interpreter. You can be sure that if, you know, and that the meeting rooms are accessible to those with mobility issues, a lot of things like that. If we just plan that into our infrastructure, then if we're going to be inclusive and everybody's on the same plane, then let's not set up barriers and make it so that people have to make a request. I guess that's, I'm not saying this very well, but I think it's, pardon?
I think you are saying it very well.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, and I believe in the principles of universal design,
Yeah.
especially in this town, but in every town. That's, you know, we should be applying. And I don't know if there's a lot we can do about it now, but I definitely think it's something we need to talk about at these extended sessions, because that's something that we recommend. Because the city can provide funding for those kinds of things if we bring it to them and say, this is something that's unique within our community. So maybe we can really delve into that at one of our sessions.
There are things that are already in place that all we would need to do is adapt. A lot of things about, you know, Zooming and things like that, that we don't have to create the wheel, you know, some things we can adapt. But I just want, I guess I think it's important that we keep that at the forefront of our thinking.
Could we discuss this with the figures and budgetary sort of consequences? I think that might help guide our discussion.
We can try to get some information on that. See
Would,
what some different
would you were
options are.
talking about, it was prohibitively expensive, kind of?
I think it just depends, I mean, yeah, let us do some research on it. And we've had trouble finding, frankly, I'll tell you this story. When we did the Rita Wilson dedication, the family requested an interpreter. I could not find one. I called everywhere. They
Would
finally
closed
brought their
captioning
own.
work?
I'm sorry.
Would closed captioning work?
Well, we do have closed captioning on Zoom.
Oh.
There-
But that's
They're
not.
in person.
Okay, I know, I was
Yeah.
just trying to, if
So-
that was too expensive and we didn't have enough money to do that and still do whatever else we might need the money for, I just didn't know.
It just
You
depends.
have closed caption on the monitors downstairs in the chamber.
That is correct. So if you're in chambers and you are looking at the monitors, you'll see, I know it's hard, but you'll see what people are saying. If you're at home and you're on Zoom, you'll also see the closed captioning. So that is already in place. What we don't have in place right now are the live interpreters, and none of our meetings have that right now.
Okay.
None of the
So
public-
city
If you
council
have,
doesn't
it down,
do
if you, again, if you request an accommodation, we will make that happen.
But I think that's a great place to look into to find out somebody who needs that is an interpreter or is closed caption. Which one, what do they feel like? How is one better than the other? How are they different? What are the costs? Looking at all those things, I think that's part of the work that we have, is to figure out, well, we just have closed captioning, is that good enough? No, we need data sell. So it's trying to find those questions. So I think that's a great piece of work for us right there.
Are we also able to take all the information that we have, such as the packets, and go ahead and translate them to a Spanish PDF on the websites?
I do not know, do you know?
We'll have to find out.
Sure.
Well, I just wonder if we don't make that like one of our first tasks is what is the accommodation, needs of our community. So where I hear you saying, Jennifer, like it should not be incumbent upon those who need accommodations to ask for them. I also want to recognize that like it is empowering to be able to say like, this is what I need from you. So maybe it
I
is
think
a
there's
survey
room for
to
both.
say, right,
One can
exactly,
lead to
like,
the other.
yes, what are the ways that we can best ensure that all community members have equitable access to our meetings and our materials and our follow-ups and whatever, so.
Yeah, some of it's even just ambulatory, some people can't walk this far. I mean, there's a whole lot, but can't solve it tonight, but just to be clear.
Any other business before I finish with my piece of business? I have one more thing I want to ask you all. I would ask, excuse
One
me,
more thing. Since, members of the public have access to these things, you want to have, people public to public to make
That's a good
comments.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So to add that as a regular item on your agenda, it's like city council meetings, planning commission, development board, members of the public are always invited. And so they generally have public comment.
But I think for them to be able to ask us a question and us to respond would be helpful, not just to speak, but perhaps to engage.
Would that be something that we had a work session to figure out?
Sure. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
That's
I'm
Yeah.
taking
yeah, we
notes
can,
of
we can
everything.
add that, we can add that to your agenda.
Yes.
And we can share the policies, you know, the suggested policy, or you all can talk about that, so. Anything else? All right. It's a little after 8. I put in front of each of you, a 2-sided piece of paper called What We Lost. And I don't know how many of you saw the exhibit that Building Bridges for Greater Good had at Booker T. I'm pretty sure I had that.
I would say just. Okay, is that my copy?
That's your copy. You
Okay.
have that. I have a copy. Oh, I think I did take your copy. So what I would like from the commission is your blessing to have a portion of the exhibit come into City Hall on the first, I think on the first floor and the third floor is where we determined there'd be space for some of the exhibits. At the same time, the library, now you may or may not know, once a month they have an art exhibit or an art or something, they rotate, and that's the month they're gonna have the What We Lost exhibit. So my suggestion to them, to Building Bridges, was have a portion of it there and have a portion of it here during the month of August, but I would like your all's authorization to have it in this building as well. I thought you all could sponsor the exhibit in City Hall, that portion of it. So if you haven't had a chance to see it yet, I think it's not at the Frontier Culture Museum anymore. I don't think that was there over the weekend. And I think the next place it will be is the library and hopefully here in August, but it's quite moving and compelling, as you can see from the paper. So I wanted to put that in front of you and get your blessing to do that. And then I can move forward with that group and make that happen in August. So happy to answer any questions you have about that.
I'll be able to offer handouts like this.
Sure. Yeah, this is their handout. I just took it from the,
Okay.
yeah, I made, literally, that's their handout. So yes.
That'd be good.
Any questions or discussion about that?
I strongly support.
Great. I don't think I actually need a motion, but just a general head nod, heads around the room. Excellent. All right, so we'll make that happen in the month of August, and we'll start getting the word out about that. So. All right. Unless there's any other business, I think we are. Sabrina, would you like, are we adjourned? You're the chair.
Entertain a motion.
Yeah, sure, why not? Oh, there we go. Somebody seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are.
Thank you all so much.
Really good job, y'all.
Good job, good job. Y'all did it.
Thanks, Joe Marie. Sorry.
Didn't look for it. I have no.
Thank you.
It'll be better next time.